Let me ask you a question. Are you a sports fan? Simple question. You may be and you may not. But the fact of the matter is, whether you're a sports fan or not, there's one thing that you do probably understand about sports, and that's that they all use numbers to analyze their performance. I mean, if you're into baseball, you want to know your hitters' batting average. If you're into, let's say, football, you want to know your favorite running backs' yards per carry. If you're, you may want to know what your favorite receiver in yards per catch are. Your favorite team's average yards per game. The thing is, we all know that there's numbers that are used in sports, and what they're used for is to evaluate whether that sports team is average, below average, or above. And that's why we all look at numbers on these things, because we want to know if our team is performing above average or below. And of course, we want our team to perform above average. Now, numbers relate in other things other than sports, because you see, it doesn't matter what your job is, numbers are involved, and your performance on you individually and also on your department or your team are evaluated on numbers. Let me give you an example. Years ago, I was a general sales manager of a dealership, and our sales team were evaluated on numbers on the people that they handled that came on the lot. So in other words, if somebody came onto the lot to look at a car, what we would do is we keep track of how many of those people took a test drive. And of those people that took a test drive, we'd also track how many sat down to do numbers. And of the people that did numbers, we kept track of what percentage actually bought a vehicle. The reason we did this was that was how we evaluated the salesperson and their performance in different levels of the process. Because you see, if they were struggling in one area and we didn't know what the problem was, how would we fix it? So just to give you an example, on the car sales side of it, we looked for 80% of the people that a salesperson waited on would take a test drive. If they didn't, then something was going wrong in the initial part of the meet, greet, and qualifying of the customer to determine which vehicles would be best for them. And because of that, we were losing too many that weren't taking a test drive. The second number was, of those people that took a test drive, 60% of them usually would come in and work numbers with us. So what that meant is, of the people that took the test drive, 8 out of 10, 60% of those would come in and work with numbers to see if it was something that would work into their budget. And of those people that sat down with us to work numbers, 60% of those should go home with a car. Not complicated. So the reason we looked at all these different numbers and had those numbers set was because that's what determined if a salesperson was exceeding expectations, below expectations, or just average. Nothing wrong with being average. You need just as many average people as you can get. It's the below average ones that you have some problems with. So the below average ones, what we would do is we would look, if they're not getting 80% to take a test drive, we knew where to help them in the sales process to get that number up. If they weren't getting 60% of those that took a test drive to come in and sit down and do the paperwork, then we knew that there were issues in another part of the sales process that we needed to work on. And of course, the last item, if we couldn't get 60% into the car by working the numbers with them, then there was another aspect of our sales process that was breaking down. So that's how we evaluated things. And it doesn't matter what your job is, what position you hold, you yourself, as well as your department or team, are evaluated by the numbers. The numbers indicate where you're lacking and where you might be exceeding, and it's important that you know that. Because if you're lacking in an area, you need to know the things that influence that number. Because if you know the things that influence that number and you're lacking, then you know what to address to fix the issue. Well, if would like to become a manager, or you're an entry-level manager or maybe a mid-level manager that doesn't know their numbers, that's a good place to start. If you want to advance, it's one of the critical things that is going to be required of you. You're going to need to know the numbers of what you're working with, and are they good? Are they bad? If they're bad, what needs to be tweaked? If they're good, where are you excelling to make them better, so that maybe you can translate that into maybe other areas of the business or other locations that may not be seeing the success that you're having. It just all is very important to how the business runs. I'm Rod, and I work with entry, mid-level managers, wannabe managers, and I try to give them just some of the basics that they might be missing to help them get over the curb and into the spot that they want to be in. So if this interests you, you found it interesting, and that you find that it's something that might benefit you, feel free to click like below. Subscribe, because we'll continually add more and more aspects to things that might help you perform better and achieve the goals that you might have in your career. Thanks for watching.